Morning, everybody. Today I'm going to show you how to make them Vaseline covered cotton balls for fire starters. They work really good because of the Vaseline that's all over them. It keeps them waterproof, and then the cotton ball itself acts as the wick, and so it burns for a good long time. You just kind of fray it up just a hair, and then you put it down underneath your fire, or where you're going to have a fire, or even in your little tiny foldable camp stove, and it'll burn for a good 10-12 minutes. And they're really good for starting fires or boiling water on a little spot. So I'll show you how to make those, how I make them anyway, instead of, because some people, they will get the cotton ball all frayed out, and then they'll grab some Vaseline on their hands and rub it all in there and knead it and mush it until it's all in there. And I've got kind of a little easier way to do it. So let me show you what you need and how we're going to do it. So here's what you're going to need: a spoon or a spatula of some type. I use 2 pieces of rebar that are about that length, maybe around a foot long. You'll see that in a minute. Some aluminum foil, of course, your Vaseline. Now, when you're coming down to the garage to do this, don't let your wife or roommate see you walk into the garage with a jar of Vaseline, because they may have some questions. Cotton balls, a lighter of some type, and this is the bottom of a tin can I just cut off. I actually found this in the river and just cut it off with a utility knife. I just used one of those. Or you can just use the bottom of a pop can, or that'll work perfect too. Just be really careful because these edges are going to be sharp. Now, the way I set all this up is first I take these pieces of rebar and I just hang them off of the edge of my workbench here. Then you can take this tin cup and set it right on top. Now, the reason that I make them about a foot long is so that they'll stay in place, and they're heavy enough in the back. They've got enough counterweight to where once we put the Vaseline and all in here, it's not just going to fall right off. Now, what the process is you have your tin can sitting on your rebar and you're hanging it off of the workbench, so that way you can get your lighter underneath it without burning anything. So let me get some. Next, we're going to take your spoon, and you're going to get your Vaseline, and you're going to put it down in the can. Alright, I took that, put a good little amount in the bottom of the can. The advantage to using just a pop can or a tin can is once you get done with it, well, number one, you don't have to worry about burning anything. Number two is when you get done with this, you can just throw it right in the trash can. Alright, so we got our Vaseline in there, scraped it all in. Then we're going to take our lighter and just put it underneath, and we're going to start heating this can up, which is going to melt. Goodness gracious. Ooh, I turned the flame up too high on that one. But you just hold your lighter underneath it. Alright, dadgum, I had to switch lighters. I had the flame too high on the other one, and then I turned it down too low. But just take your lighter, hold it underneath the tin can. Eventually this stuff will melt down just into a liquid. And as it starts to melt down into the liquid, it will actually, the hot liquid one part will actually start melting the solid stuff a little faster. So I'll get back to you here in just a second when this is done. So see, it'll melt down into just a clear liquid, and then you just want to get all those solid pieces melted. Okay, now we got it all melted down completely. There's one tool I forgot to mention, and that's a pair of needle nose pliers, because this is going to be hot and you're not going to want to touch the cotton balls when you dip them in there. What I do is just pinch onto them with the pliers, and you don't got to leave it in there long. Just give it a nice little dunk, pull it out. That's about half of it. So then you just take it and you flip your pliers to the other side and you dunk the dry side. Alright, I got it flipped over. Take the dry side, dunk. And since it's in a liquid state, it will soak all into that cotton ball. And then you put it over here on your aluminum foil and let it cool and harden up. Just leave it there. There's another one. Cotton ball, dunk. Flip it over, dunk. It'll all soak on in. And then drop that onto your aluminum foil there. They might be a little sticky. Dadgummit. Give me a second. Now what I usually do after I dunk it is I'll dunk it and then I'll pick it up and I'll hold it upside down, and that will let all of that liquefied jelly run down into the cotton ball. So then at the end of this, you're going to have a little bit of gunk on your pliers. So if you're borrowing your friend's pliers or your dad's pliers, make sure you clean that off and wipe them all up. Make sure they're nice and clean before you give them back. Now once these things cool down, I'm going to take them outside and I'll show you how they look when they're lit and how well they burn. Now if you watched the bug out bag video that I made where I had these in the fire kit of my bug out bag, you'll see that they were stored. I just throw them into a plastic Ziploc bag, and then I'll put that inside of another Ziploc bag just in case, you know, it gets a hole or something. That way you don't have Vaseline getting rubbed all over your pouches in there. But these right here, they don't have to stay separated or fluffed up or anything. The way they are in that bug out bag is they're all just smushed down, crammed together. That way I can just kind of peel them apart and rough them up a little bit. So let's get out and show you how these things will actually burn and how well they do. Okay, so we're out in the backyard fire pit now. They'd solidified up a little bit. Now what you want to do with these is kind of rough them up to get these little tiny fibers kind of exposed, because that's what's going to catch your flame. So you just kind of rough it up just a little bit to expose it, and the cotton is going to act as your wick, and then all of the jelly around it is actually going to burn and then keep the cotton ball from being just completely eaten up in the first few seconds. Not that lighter. Look at the other one. Now keep in mind, you are going to have quite a bit of black smoke that comes off of this. If you can see all that black smoke coming off, that's because Vaseline is a petroleum product. So, you know, with a normal cotton ball, if it ignited, it wouldn't last very long. But as you can see, you can still see plenty of white, and it'll just keep on going. Alright, well, it's been about a minute so far. You can see that's a good flame coming off of that thing, and it's still barely eating into that cotton ball at all. Just don't breathe in the black smoke. But if you had that on your little foldable camping stove, or put on a log or something to where you could put your canteen cup on top of it, then you know that flame is going to be good and plenty for boiling some water. Now we're about 4 minutes in, and it's still going, and has only eaten up maybe half of that cotton ball, and it's still got a dang good flame on it. Now if you put this underneath your canteen or a pot or something to boil water with, or to try to cook with, that black smoke will completely coat whatever you put on top of it. It gets kind of like this, it's just soot, that's what it is. And then on the bottom it may build up a little bit and it's a little, just a little greasy. So we'll keep checking, see how long it goes. Here it is at 6 minutes in now. Still eating away at it. Still got a good flame on it. I haven't tried it, so I don't know if that will catch with your ferro rod, because those fibers are so fine that I'm sure they would accept a spark no problem. But with the Vaseline around it, I don't know if the Vaseline might melt and put out that little ember. You can see it just kind of turns into what looks like a burnt marshmallow, but it'll just keep on going. So right now, 6.5 minutes. 9 minutes, still going. Flame got just a little bit smaller, not by much though. Still got a little bit of that white cotton ball there at the bottom. Here we are at 11 minutes. Flame's getting a little smaller, but still a hot flame. Just let's see here, about 11.5 minutes. I just hit 13 minutes. It's dying down. Cotton ball's starting to turn white. Flame's going down. So I would imagine it'll probably go for another 2 to 5 minutes. And since we're at 13.5 right now, that'll burn for a good 15 to 20 minutes just on that one cotton ball. So if you get all your tinder and kindling and all that stuff together above it and you put that in there, even if it's wet, that cotton ball should keep burning for a good 15 to 20 minutes. So anything you put on top of it, even if it's wet, should get dried out and be able to start going on its own. So 14 minutes now. So you can see, it's definitely a good option. So here we are at 15 minutes. And it's starting to go down. That flame is just real small. And it's starting to just kind of burn itself out. Oh yeah, it went down after about 15.5 minutes. But you can see that for a very small price, you can get stuff to put in a fire kit that will be reliable. The materials that I got was a big old bag of cotton balls. Got at the grocery store for $1. And then the Vaseline, just off-brand Vaseline, big old container of it. This one's a 13-ounce container. I think I got that for $3 or $4. And then the rebar, you can use whatever as long as, it's not going to catch on fire. The rebar I just, pulled out of trash piles or picked up off the ground. Aluminum foil you got in your kitchen. Plastic spoon, or you can use whatever, chopsticks, or poke a piece of metal through it or whatnot and just improvise, make it work. So, but 15 minutes worth of hot flame that you can carry in a very small object is definitely a good thing to have around. Throw it in your bug out bag, or put it to the side with all of your other stuff for just in case. Good for camping stuff. So if you've got wet wood that doesn't want to burn, stick one of those underneath there. It should dry it out and be a very good fire starter for you. You can also just put it on your little foldable camp stove, if you don't want to have a big fire but you still want to heat up some water, you need to boil some water. Or what I used to do is I'd whip it out on a job site. I'd pour some water into my canteen cup, set it on there, and once it started getting good and hot, I would take freeze-dried coffee and just sprinkle some in there. That way on a cold, windy night when I'm working, I can sit down and have a nice hot cup of coffee to just take a little break, get a little pick-me-up. So yeah, that's about it. You know, tin cans, pop cans, beer cans, you have those laying around anywhere anyway. So just cut those up with your pocket knife or a razor blade. Just make sure you watch out for those sharp edges. So yeah, there's what I use. I keep a bunch of those in my little bug out bag just in case. That way I've always got at least that one option with me, and along with, of course, others that you see in the other video. So that's all I got. Y'all be good.